What's happening, guys? Jim the Game Guru. Okay, today we got an awesome board game from North Star Games. It is Oceans Deluxe. And I'm going to pop this open, do a quick how-to play, show you the components on it. If you guys are new here, please consider subscribing or following. I am your video game and board game nerd. Big passions of mine. So let's get to it. Let's see what this game is all about. All right, so let's go ahead and dig into this game. Ocean's Deluxe version. So as you can see here, I put out a bunch of the components on the table, getting ready for this two-player game. So before I start, I want to say a quick thank you to North Star Games for fixing my copy of the game. Now, there is a little bit of a snafu on Amazon where their deluxe edition had the contents of the Kickstarter edition. So I don't know, by the time of this video, I don't know if they've actually fixed that issue or not. But just be aware, if you go to Amazon to buy the deluxe edition of Oceans, that if the description has like the foil cards and the sleeves and all this extra stuff, then that is actually the Kickstarter edition, and that I believe they don't offer the actual Kickstarter edition on Amazon. So it's actually a mistake. The one on Amazon will not contain the 5 to 6 player expansion. It will not contain the foil cards. It will not contain the sleeves. So all that extra stuff is not going to be in that one, which is kind of a shame. I feel like they should just make one version, and the one version that because this game is $80 for the deluxe edition. I feel like the $80 should be the one version that contains everything, but that's just my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and go over. I'm gonna show you guys the manual really fast before I get into like the gameplay. So the manual is really well done. It's magazine quality. It's really really nice paper. Like, it's super thick. Great print on it. It's easy to read. This is one of the easiest games to learn to play. And it is tough to really master the mechanics though, because the mechanics in this game are different than most other board games that you find. And when I get into the gameplay, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's also a reference card guide, and this reference guide will actually go into all the cards. It'll tell you about the cards. It'll tell you a little extra stuff about the cards and some rule clarifications in case there's something that is kind of confusing. Here's a little slip in here for the 5 to 6 player expansion. It just basically tells you how you set up the game differently if you include the 5 to 6 players. This game is a little bit more optimized for up to 4 players. It even says in that little pamphlet for the 5 to 6 player expansion that when you add the 5th and 6th player, it'll extend the game dramatically because of all the choices that people have to make, and because of the way that the adjacent layout works in the game. All right, so let's go into some other components here. So here we have the reef, where we have these acrylic fish. So acrylic fish is one thing that is part of the deluxe edition. So the deluxe edition, you get the acrylic fish. In the Kickstarter version of this, they'll actually send you other fish tokens as well, the cardboard ones with more of a design on each fish. So you have both of those. If you go for the vanilla deluxe edition, it's only going to have the acrylic pieces. It's not going to have the cardboard ones. This Kickstarter version also comes with sleeves. So you have sleeves for your cards. You have one for your surface cards, and then you'll have other ones for your deep cards. So these are all the sleeves you get. Let's see what else. We also have some reference cards, and these are reference cards for like your turn, what you do on your turn. So we'll put one on the side here. There's also these little tokens here. These tokens here will actually give people points in their score bag depending on their turn order. So in this game, the people that go first will have a certain amount of points in their bag to start off, and I'm guessing that's kind of a way to even things out with the scoring based on how people collect population toward the end of the game. Let's see what else we have. Let me see here. There's also these screens that you can put down, and you can kind of cover your point cards, or your population point tokens. These are kind of obsolete though, I think, because now in these deluxe editions you'll have these scoring bags. And these scoring bags is where you stick your population tokens in here, and then this is what you count up at the end of the game for your scoring. And you want your population to be hidden in your scoring bag so that nobody knows at the end of the game or during the middle of the game how much scoring you have, because that could obviously alter their play style. So over here we have the deep cards. We have the surface cards. The deep cards are unique. So they actually have really, really cool artwork. They are absolutely unique. Each one is a different card. There are no duplicates that I've seen in this deck of the deep cards, and these will actually give your species special abilities. And when we start playing, I'll show you how you create species, because in this game you create species in order to gather fish population. So very, very cool artwork. You can see all the artwork in here is pretty amazing. I like the deep artwork more than I like the surface artwork. I think the surface card artwork is a little basic, but as far as the deep cards, I think they did a pretty good job. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this down. Let's go into the surface cards, and I'll show you the surface cards. I think there's only like 12 different types of surface cards you can get, but you can see with the surface cards, it's a little more basic. These are going to be typically your base cards that you start off with, and when you're creating your species. Yeah, so these are all like... And you can see as they repeat, because there's like only 12 different surface cards, and you have a certain amount of them all. Now, the anatomy of the cards, we'll go really quick. So the anatomy of the card, this right here is for foraging. So whenever your species actually ends up eating, this is a foraging where they'll eat from the reef. This right here, the 2, is an attack. So your species can have a certain amount of attack when they attack other people's species in order to take some fish from their species, some population from their species. This 2 down here is a defensive trait. So that means that anyone that attacks your species has to have more than this defensive trait number in order to get population from your species. The very bottom here, the bottom left, we have a number here. And this is used, and you can see in this one, it's an 8. And this one here is used as a migrating number, but you can use to migrate fish from the ocean, because this is the ocean over here, and then this is the reef. You can migrate between the reef and the ocean. And then the way you do that is you discard the card into the discard pile when you're playing the card. And then that will end up using the migrate number there. So we have the ocean, we have the reef, and then we have these cards over here that are scenario cards. And I've already put 2 on here for this gameplay. So this one's being epizootic or something. Species go extinct when they overpopulate. Place all population in the reef. So that is an interesting card. And this other one here is thermal currents. On your turn, you may evolve traits directly from the gene pool. And there are a bunch of scenario cards that come with this game, and each one, so what you do is you shuffle, and you'll end up putting the scenario cards, flipping one and putting in each one of these Ocean 1 or Ocean 2. They're all different. So these are like different abilities, right? Like this one right here, the maximum number of traits per species is increased by 1. And then you have ones that are purple, and I think these ones are like events that happen as soon as it's enabled, when the population of a zone goes to 0. Degenerative virus. During aging, choose a species to age an additional time. So yeah, so these all have these special abilities. As soon as you deplete the population in one of these zones, then they become active. All right, so I'm only going to do a few rounds of this. I'm not going to go all the way to the end of the game, because the play for each round is repetitive. So you'll get the idea after the first couple of rounds that I go through. Now here really quick, I'm going to show you, this is a population board for the species. And what happens is whenever you create a species, you can have up to 3 traits on the species. And then as they feed or gain or attack in order to get population, they're going to add population of fish onto this. If you get to the very bottom, that's overpopulation, and what happens is you remove 5 populations. So if you get to here, you remove 5, which will take you back up to here. Now, there is an aging phase in this game that if you don't have any population on your species board, when you get to the aging phase on your turn, the species goes extinct. Boom, gone, see ya. So that's one thing that's very, very important. So you have to remember 3 traits per species, and you have to make sure that when during the aging phase on your turn that they don't go extinct. This game is very, very, very combo heavy, and usually the combos are from as you line up species from one together. So like if you put a species here, put a species here, and put a species here or whatever, you have to look to see what traits the species have to combo them together, as well as what the other person has on the other side. So there's a concept here of calling adjacent species or adjacent arrows. And what happens is you can lay a species, and then the person that lays a species on the other side, like on their side, that is adjacent. So the rightmost species that I have on my board is adjacent to the leftmost on their board. And there's this circle that happens, and then a lot of the traits on these cards will depend on where they are. Each player gets dealt 6 cards, and here we go. We got player 1 here. I got dealt 6 cards. Voila. And as well as player 2. So player 1 here is going to get the 4-point bonus. So we have this set up for 2 players. We have 100 fish that are in there. So let's go ahead and start. Okay, so player 1, what they're going to do is, okay, so we have an apex predator here, which gives 3, and then 2 defense. The problem is apex predators are good when you're attacking other species. They're not good when they have to forage and feed off the reef, because there is no foraging. Zip, zip, zilch. Now, you don't have to, whenever you put a species down, a card down to start a species, you don't have to actually have one that has a number like these, right? You can actually put anything down. I can put this schooling down right here. And the schooling means aging +1 may not be attacked when the species has 5 or more population. So this, I can put this down. If I put this down, I can create a species that has 1 foraging and 1 attack. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna put speed down. So speed is 2 foraging, 2 attack, 2 defensive, and may have 1 extra trait. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this down as a species. So what you do is you grab a species population board and you put the card right there. I'm gonna move the scoring bags to the side of it because we don't really need those for the gameplay as far as on the camera. So now that that's done, because you can only play 1 card on your turn, but there is something called the Cambrian explosion that happens when Ocean 1 ends up having 0 fish in it. And the Cambrian explosion will allow you to play 2 cards and allow you to play deep cards. So in this game, you can collect deep cards, but you cannot play them until the Cambrian explosion occurs. Okay, so we have this species here. It's got a foraging of 2, 2 attack, and 2 defense. They're gonna go ahead and forage in the reef. So now enter my feeding phase. So they will forage in the reef. They will get 2 population, as you can see right there. And then now I go into my aging phase, right? Because I can only play 1 card. I put 1 card in, created a species. Now, my aging phase right now is 1 fish, right? 1 fish token. Once you have the Cambrian explosion, the aging phase is 2 fish during your aging phase per species. Remember, it's per species. So now This one fish token comes out of here and goes into the fish bag, the scoring bag. There you go. So now player 1 has 5 points because they start off with the 4-point bonus plus the 1 fish that came off of this. So now what's happening is I have 5 cards left in my hand. Now I can have an option to get a deep card if I want to. So let's take a look at the 2 deep cards. Now, I don't have to. If I don't want to, I don't have to. So we have Gigantic Brain, which costs 4. May have any number of traits. Wow, any number of traits. That's insane. Ages population equal to the number of traits it has. Other effects may never reduce this amount. And then we have Vestigial Limb. Play another player's species. It counts as a trait and may not be removed. Wow. Play another trait after playing this one. Okay, that's kind of crazy. Now, if I choose not to go with either of these, and I don't have to go get a deep card if I don't want to, then what I can do is either pass, say no thank you, or draw 3 from this deep card stack up here, and then I have to choose one. I'm gonna go ahead and pass for now, and now enter my discard phase. Now, what do I want to get rid of in my discard phase? Actually, I like a lot of these. I think what I might do is I'm gonna pass on my discard, because you can choose any number of cards you want to discard, but I'm gonna pass on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and do a refill in my hand now, and there you go. So now I drew another Apex Predator, and this person is done. Now comes player 2. Player 2 is going to go. Let's see what they have. Oh, they have Transparent. They have Parasitic, Symbiotic, Filter Feeder. Filter Feeder is really awesome when it comes to eating fish from the reef. It's amazing. And you know what? I think I'm going to do the Filter Feeder. So we're going to do Filter Feeder right here. This fish never overpopulates. Never overpopulates. So remember, the overpopulate is when you hit the bones down here at the bottom, that you have to remove half of them off of that, and they're gone, right? Well, in Filter Feeder, it never, ever overpopulates, which is awesome. So you put down a species board like that for the population fish, and then you go ahead and slap Filter Feeder. Now this person is going to go ahead and forage in the reef. Let's get some fish, and it's a foraging of 5, which is fantastical. So we'll go ahead and put 5 on here, right? And now comes the aging phase for this person, for this person's turn. They're going to go ahead and score one of these fish in their baggie over here. Throw that fish in the baggie. Now let's see what's going to happen. So now we enter the deep card. Choose a deep card if you'd like. Do they want to choose a deep card? All right, you know what? Let's have some fun. Let's have this person go for a deep card. But you know what? They don't want either of those 2 that we already saw. So they're going to draw 3 on the top. And they have to choose one of these deep cards, okay? So let's see, you've got Poisonous Spines. After being attacked, the attacker and each other species that gain from the attack lose 3 population. In this one here, we got ignores 1 defensive trait when attacking, which is kind of cool. In this one here, we have an enhanced version of speed, which is 3, 3, and 3. That is actually really, really cool. I think I'm going to go for this. So they're going to stick this in their hand. Now, what happens to the other 2 cards that you draw? They go on top of the gene pool over here. And now those are the options next time somebody wants to go for a deep card. Okay, so they chose a deep card. Unfortunately, deep cards cannot be played. Because remember, like I said earlier, deep cards cannot be played until the Cambrian explosion happens. But you can gather as many deep cards as you want in your hand. So that they have 6 cards in their hand. Do they want to discard? So I have a lot of abilities in my card. So now I have 2 transparent cards, right? I'm probably going to go ahead and discard this transparent card. Let me see if there's anything else that I really want. And I might discard this inking, even though this gives me defense. I don't know. Yeah, I think I might just discard this one. Why not? So I chose two cards out of this hand to discard. They go into the discard pile. Now I get to reload on two more cards. Dun dun dun. One, two. So I got Whale Cleaner after species with three or more forages, gains three. This is the closest, okay? And then this one here, we got Schooling, which is aging +1. May not be attacked when the species has five or more population. Okay, that's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and drop that. Now, if you notice, we did the aging, but the population stays here on the boards, right? For each of these players, for their species. Okay, so let's go ahead. So the one thing that's really, really hard in this game is trying to figure out the combos. And I'm still trying to learn that. I mean, I've played this game a few times, but I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the combos. One thing I've noticed is that in a lot of games, you play down new cards to create a new combo at that time. But in this game, you have to kind of plan beforehand. And when you add traits to an existing species, you need to think about a species in the future that you're going to lay next to it. So that way, when that species comes out, you can benefit off of that, the actions from that species. Because when you have a new species and you create a new species, you have to feed or attack right away with that species, unless it already has a trait that will gain some fish without having to do so. Or else, after you play that species on your aging phase, that species will immediately go extinct. So that is one thing that I've noticed is actually pretty challenging. So let's see. What are we going to do here? Like this one right here gives you gains 2 after the species to the right is attacked. But see, the problem is I have 2 apex predators. If I put 2 apex predators down, then I have a feeling that it's just not going to benefit me, these ones right here. Let's see. Let's go ahead and I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do Tentacled. May feed 1 additional time. So I'm going to slap this on this existing species, okay? So now that's my 1 card played. Now, you remember you can have 3 traits on each species unless you have a trait that allows you more traits. Okay, so this this particular speed actually gives you 1 extra trait. So on this species right here, I can have up to 4 traits. So this person can feed 1 additional time. So let's get into the feeding phase. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna go pow. They're gonna attack this filter feeder because there's nothing defending it right now. No defensive traits or nothing. So it's got an attack of 2. So it takes 2 fish from it. And then I'm going to attack it again. Boom. Because this tentacle allows me to attack and feed an additional time. So boom. Let's take 2 more. Now this goes into here. Now we get to the aging phase. And one of these beautiful little fish goes into my scoring pile. So now, if you're keeping track, this person has 6 points here. Because he got 2 fish from both of his rounds. And then he has the 4-point bonus. Let's see what else we've got in here. Okay, so now we go to deep cards. Do we want to get a deep card? I don't know. Maybe. Let's do this Poisonous Spines. We'll pick up this Poisonous Spines. This gives you a little bit of defensiveness. So this says after a species being attacked, the attacker and other species that gain from the attack lose 3 population. That's pretty nasty. So he's gonna go ahead and grab that. On my discard phase now. I'm gonna go ahead and discard one of the apex predators. I don't feel like I need 2 of them in my hand. I think that's it. I think I'll just go ahead and discard that, and we'll go ahead and draw another card to go back up to 6. See, now I have 2 Scoldings, which kind of sucks. All right, so that person's done. Now this player over here is gonna go player 2, and what are they gonna do? So what they're going to do is, can we play a new species? Probably. We could, but we have one problem. If I play a new species to the right or left of that, what happens is that species right there may go extinct because I need to feed with that species, or else it is gone. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to try to add some defense to this fish. Because this guy's attacking that. So this person's going to be like, Let's add some defense. Oh, but I can't because this is a deep card, and I can't play this until the Cambrian explosion. Oh, but here we go. We'll put transparent on it. May not be attacked or leached if there is population in the reef. And there is population in the reef. So he's going to go ahead and play that. There we go. That will protect that species for a little while. Now they're going to go ahead and forage, and they're going to take 5 from the reef. And now you see the reef is getting kind of low on fish population. Now, remember, the foraging is always going to be from the reef. So how do you move more fish into the reef? And that's by whenever you play a card, you don't play a card on your species. You discard a card to use its migration ability. And the migration abilities are on the bottom left of the card. All right, so let's see what else we got. So they're done. So they went ahead and foraged. Now they go through the aging process. They're going to go ahead and pocket just like that. Or sorry, another single point fish. Okay, so now we go into the deep card. Do they want a deep card? And I think they're going to go ahead and pass because they already have a deep card in their hand. Now we'll go to the discarding. I think what they might do is maybe they'll discard the schooling. And that gives us 4 cards. All right. So we're going to go ahead and draw 2 to get back up to 6. Oh, they have a feed additional time. That's pretty good for later on. Okay, so now this player goes. Now what are we going to do here? Now there's population on this fish here, right? On the species here. So they could actually bring in a new species. So they're going to bring in an apex predator. And they're going to go ahead and do that. So this has attack of 3 and a defense of 2. I can only play 1 card. Now, the only problem is that this particular species over here, and I'm going to show you how this goes extinct immediately because I played that, but I can't attack it. I can't attack this species. So that was a bad play on this on my part. So I can't attack. I can't forage because this species cannot forage. So the only one that can actually feed is this one. So this one will go ahead and feed, and they will gain 2 because they can't attack from here. So they'll go ahead and gain 2. And then they have a trait here, tentacle, that they can go ahead and forage again. So they'll go ahead and gain 2. There you go. So now we're going to the aging phase. One of these goes into their scoring bag just like that. Now deep card, do they want to get a deep card? No. They'll pass on that. They'll discard one of the schoolings, and then they'll go ahead and draw 2 to get back up to 6 cards. Okay. And now we got player 2. They're going to go ahead and go. Now, what they're going to do, player 2, since there's no fish here in the reef, they're not going to play another species. What they're going to do is they're going to discard whale cleaner. And this has got a 11 for the migration. They're going to go ahead and discard that as they're playing in order to play. So now this will migrate 11 fish over. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Now remember, these abilities here don't activate until one of their zones have no fish in it. Cambrian Explosion doesn't activate until all the fish are gone in Ocean 1. Okay, so that's what they did there. They can't play any more cards. Now they're going to go ahead and feed now, and they're going to go ahead and feed. And this species does not overpopulate up here at the filter feeder. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Wow, and then now they go into their aging phase. Their aging phase now takes a fish token and puts them into their scoring bag, just like that. Then this is how this game is played, and you keep going until you empty out the oceans. And once you empty out Ocean 3, and then again, the way you move fish is just like I did there. You play a card by discarding it, and then in order to use this migration number, and then that will allow you to move fish from these different zones into another place. Once you have the oceans completely depleted, Ocean 3 is depleted, then what happens is you dump another reserve pile of fish population tokens in, and then that is the last round. That will signal last round, and then the person at the end of the game that has the most population tokens in their bag ends up winning. You know what? I forgot to mention how this species went extinct. So this species here went extinct at the end of this person's turn because it couldn't add anything to their population scoring bag during the aging phase. So this is completely gone, done, out of here. So it's just this and that. You create species, you have combos based on the adjacency of them, and you forage, you attack during your feeding phase. And there's other cards that will allow you in this game to gain ocean tokens as well whenever something feeds or attacks, which is kind of cool. And then you have the aging, which you're going and you're tallying in your scoring pile. And then once, like I said before, once you deplete all of these and you have the reserve pile get poured in, then you have that one last round turn, and then the game is over. You count up all your population tokens. Now, the one thing I didn't go into is the Cambrian Explosion, because I have to continue to go until Ocean 1 is completely gone. Once the Cambrian Explosion hits, you play two cards per turn, and you're allowed to play the deep cards. Now, whenever you play the deep cards, this number at the very bottom left here, that is the cost in order to play the deep card on your species. And guess where that cost comes from? It comes from your bag. So even though these deep cards are way more powerful, if you want to play them, you have to pull them from your bag, which reduces your scoring in order to have these traits on your species. Yeah, but this is Oceans. It's actually a really, really cool game. It's very, very unique. I love the mechanics on it. It is easy to pick up. Like I said before, it is very difficult to kind of learn and master this combos and these mechanics. But yeah, I absolutely love this game. I think it's freaking awesome. From North Star Games. And guys, I am Jim the Game Guru. Okay, until the next video, I will see you later. If you like this video, please like. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing or following. Bye.